Nothing Personal starts in 30 seconds. It's just business. This is Nothing Personal.
Here you go. Here you go.
Scrubbed. That's the Nothing Personal word of the day. It's Thursday, March 20th, 2025. Scrubbed, as in a Jackie Robinson story that was living on the Department of Defense website that all of a sudden Jeff Passan discovered had been scrubbed. And I have done a terrific job of trying to ignore some of the things that are going on in the name of peace, in the name of the hope of prosperity, in the name of the hope of calmness and moving forward, trying to eliminate divisiveness, the increased despondency that is felt by people on both sides of the aisle. And then this story came across my desk. I appreciate Jeff Passan bringing this to everybody's attention. I further appreciate the fact that it got remedied. But I want to go back and explain the process. Try to get you inside the head of the people making the decisions so we can try to evaluate why these decisions are made. And don't believe that AI generated all these decisions and they put in a bunch of words like black or brown or diversity or equity or inclusion, and anything with that word got scrubbed because the president has made it clear. There is an initiative to eliminate woke culture. I'm not so sure that you can't get a majority of people to say that we had gone too far. I'm not too sure that we can't get a majority of the country to acknowledge that there may be a better way to solve the problems that all of us face. But what's been given to us as a solution, other than Tesla, the solution has been, and this goes for efficiency, this goes for government spending, this goes for all sorts of areas. The solution has been macro. I have told you for weeks now that while I may not personally disagree with some of the results, I very much disagree with the entire process. You cannot use a machete to remove a splinter. And it is true that historically, for as long as I've been alive, presidential debates on the same subjects, unemployment, Social Security, immigration, safety, security, taxes, the debates go on and on. The fixes don't necessarily ever come, so the debates continue. The splinters grow. They multiply like roaches in an infested New York City apartment. Is it true that if the infestation gets too big, you have to bring in a complete smoke bomb, tear the place down? Maybe, but that's not where we are. Where we are is that we needed a change. We needed to reverse course on debt, on spending. We needed to reduce deficits. We needed to figure out how to fix the borders. We need to figure out how to fix inflation. All of things that smart people have been working on for centuries. But what happened now is you come into an office and you get an email that says you're fired. You get an email that says, tell me what you did last week. You get an email that says the whole program has been cut. Or you get an email that says we are eliminating diversity, equity, inclusion, and everything having to do with any program. So companies feel free to get rid of the program. And companies say to themselves, what do? Do we get rid of the program? Or do we change the program to make it more effective? Because at the end of the day, we're trying to actually do something that does bring us the best candidates to do the jobs we need done, which can increase profitability. It can increase our share price. It can actually increase output. Forget the fact that eventually it can increase GDP, but we don't need to talk about that. Let's talk about a blanket elimination of anything related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. There's no other explanation as to why an article about Jackie Robinson and his time in the Army would be wiped from a website. Because the website, Department of Defense, has a very clear mandate from the president: get rid of anything. You don't think this is an outreach? You don't think this is a growth from eliminating critical race theory? If you try to erase the past, you are condemned to relive it. I was brought up with that very notion from my first moment when I could hear, listen, understand, talk. We learn from the past. We try not to repeat the mistakes of the past. If you deny what went on, if you eliminate what went on, you are almost guaranteed to make the same mistakes, because at the end of the day, we have smartphones, we have technology. Maybe the wheel is now invented and before it wasn't. But truly, the human condition is such that we tend to go toward the mistake path. And then we adjust. And then we try to get success where failure used to live. I am not going to sit here and celebrate the fact that the Department of Defense and their press secretary, John Elliott, reversed course and tried to give us an excuse as to why any mention of Jackie Robinson had disappeared and now reappeared. But there's no way I'm not going to go through what John Elliott said and the timeline of his statement. This is someone who is the Pentagon press secretary. This is a Harvard-educated man. This is someone who has had success in the private and public sector. This is a communications officer. And at 1:24 p.m. yesterday, he released a statement that said DEI is dead at the Defense Department. And then he referred to it as discriminatory equity ideology. And he said that's a form of woke cultural Marxism that has no place in our military. And I want to stop there, Coca. Take the statement off the board on Nothing Personal with David Sampson YouTube channel, because I think we need to explain to people what woke cultural Marxism is. I assume there's some sort of misunderstanding, certainly by this Harvard-educated brilliante named John Elliott. So I'd like to just give you a little rundown. Marxism is a concept. It's a pretty simple concept. We have it here. We have Marxists here in the United States. Think about capitalism. Capitalism is where you and I have an opportunity to make as much money as we can, doing whatever it is we can to make that money within the four corners of laws that are meant to govern situations where two people, two groups, are trying to do the same thing at the expense of the other, and it's outside of fair competition. That's a general way to look at it. Marxism posits that society, community, is all driven by material wealth, by material conditions. And we're organized by how that wealth is distributed. Marxism will have you assume that there will be a class struggle, that there will be a conflict between the haves and the have-nots. Tell me when you hear something that rings true or familiar. Marxism is the very ideology, not that the White House is trying to avoid. It's what they're running toward. As a matter of fact, I could argue that the governmental policies right now are exactly trying to get the people with the money to have the power and then give more of the power and money to the people already in power with the money. And the thought is that capitalism exploits the have-nots. But Marxism says that when that equilibrium is too upset, There will be a class struggle, a class war, and then a reallocation, and then everyone will be on the same path. Do you think that the government believes that its actions right now by creating a bigger divide between the haves and the have-nots is not going to lead to the very thing that they are hoping to never be associated with? Do you think it's a coincidence that the statement at 1:24 p.m. yesterday said that DEI is a form of woke cultural Marxism that has no place in our military? Do you think that the Pentagon press secretary doesn't realize that our current administration wants you to believe that you can have his life when he knows very well that the actions he's doing will make it so you can never have his life? But he doesn't want you to believe that. He wants you to have the hope. And I don't mean the Andy Dufresne hope. I don't mean anything else other than the hope that springs uneternal, non-eternal, lack of eternal. The hope that has a little flashlight that shines through, that is controlled by someone on the other side who can pull the battery out at any time. But with the knowledge that the way to keep the thumb on the neck is to keep the hope that you will be what you're looking at, the life. It started a long time ago, so this is not a Donald Trump thing. Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous with Robin Leach, our obsession with Hollywood, our obsession with celebrity, our obsession with people who have the money. We talked about the Jerry Maguire top 5 quote. I don't know whether it was on our show or the Lebitard show about what first class is. It used to be a better seat. Now it's a better life. Let me go back to his 124 statement when the Jackie Robinson article had been scrubbed, and he tries to explain it, that the woke cultural Marxism has no place in our military. It divides the force, erodes unit cohesion, and interferes with the service's core war-fighting mission. I'm just curious what you all know about the military, but as far as I'm concerned, all you have to do is watch A Few Good Men, and you can understand the class system that exists, the necessity for the class system, and it's never based on color. It's based on rank. It's based on how you attain rank. It's based on respect, professionalism. It's based on people making decisions to follow what someone says blindly because that's their job, until such time as the equilibrium changes, until such time as someone realizes that doing a code red may not be the right thing to do to Private Santiago. The statement at 1:24 p.m. said to you that we are pleased. We. Does he mean the Pentagon press secretary? Does he mean the Department of Defense? Does he mean the defense secretary alone? Does he mean everyone who voted Republican? Can't be sure. But we are pleased by the rapid compliance across the department with the directive to remove DEI content from all platforms. I'm sorry. Is that what the plan is? Is that in some way going to make everybody feel better that our country is heading toward a better place of economic equality where the class system will cease to exist and the rich won't be as rich and the poor will be better off? Because we will not acknowledge exactly what's happened in our history and in the world's history? Do we want to pretend that Jackie Robinson and his core principles, which, by the way, if everybody lived just according to his core principles, believe me, we would be in a better place and the debate and the rhetoric would all change. So we're going to remove history, remove DI content. Don't give me the argument it's only the Department of Defense website. No one looks at that. Who cares? I think it's very clear that this can't be the mandate of the voters. It can't be the mandate of even MAGA. It can't be the mandate of anyone with a brain larger than a pea to understand that the best way to accomplish your financial goals, your economic goals, your purity goals, if you're a racist, the best way is to have a frame of reference, to understand exactly, 4819, to understand exactly what happened in the past that caused the present and that will be an indicator of the future. So 60 plus 22, 82 minutes later, the same Harvard-educated press secretary, John Elliott, said, I think I'm going to release another statement. 82 minutes apart. Everyone at the Defense Department loves Jackie Robinson, as well as the Navajo Code Talkers, the Tuskegee Airmen, the Marines at Iwo Jima, and so many others. We salute them for their strong and, in many cases, heroic service to our country. Full stop. I just want to make sure that we understand that over the course of 82 minutes, President Trump and the defense secretary and the press secretary of the Pentagon was able to take a poll that would make Dan Le Batard proud because it didn't have 1,000 respondents, 10,000 respondents. He got into the millions, all in 82 minutes. And it turns out that everybody loves Jackie Robinson. Thank God. Because we thought that when you were scrubbing the Jackie Robinson article, that it was actually personal against Jackie Robinson. It turns out that the reason it was scrubbed actually has nothing to do with Jackie Robinson. It's not about loving Jackie Robinson. Don't be fooled by this 82-minute walk back that this soon-to-be fired, but of course not, Pentagon press secretary decides that now we love Jackie, and it's really the black people and the black history we don't love. The people you've never heard of or that Jeff Passan's never heard of. The articles that have been scrubbed using an AI construct with words. What do you think the words are that AI is using to scrub? I bet you it's something like black, brown, Negro. I can't imagine it's words like baseball, Dodgers. Oh, it could be Dodgers, actually. Although that would be weird because then you'd have to actually deal with the president. Oh, no, I digress. I doubt it's talk. Certainly could be Navajo. So why would he change course in 82 minutes when the president and all of his disciples have not cared one bit about DEI or eliminating woke culture? As a matter of fact, they stand on a pedestal hoping that it will be erased. They run on a platform where everyone wants to believe that everything that's taught in schools about our history, about racist country that we are, were, and apparently may always be, if it's not fixed properly by the right smart people, forget it, ignore it. But 82 minutes, we're going to bring Jackie back. If I'm Jackie Robinson's family or Major League Baseball, I'd like you to stand up. I'd like you to stand up and say, you know what? Have at it. You may try to erase Jackie Robinson's story, but you won't be able to, because the only people going on the Department of Defense website are people who actually, I have no care in the world whether they understand Jackie Robinson's principles. I am far more interested in the work that the Jackie Robinson Foundation does, far more interested in the work that so many millions of people do trying to teach our children the difference between right and wrong. You want to know how to cure racism? You have to start with the children. Nobody's born a racist. Nobody's born with the views that are promulgated so unbelievably and vociferously from our head of government on down. You're not born that way. You're taught it. The irony of trying to handle what is being taught to our students is that the only hope we have is that what is taught to our students can start to turn the table on what is taught to the kids by some of the parents. But the good news is, eventually, everyone in my generation, the generation above me, we're all going to croak. So the hope is that all of the younger generations will actually have an understanding of what it means to be equal, and I don't mean Marxist. Have an idea of what it means to be fair, to be equitable, to understand that, of course, there's always going to be rich and there's going to be poor in capitalism. But that doesn't actually have to be an indication for treatment or for rights or for obligations. The fact that all men are created equal, that should say everything, except what people want to believe is what it says is, yeah, look, it's all men. No, the fact of the matter is that we know that in order for our society to thrive, in order for the changes to take place that we all want, no matter what our political proclivities are, is we want everyone to have an equal opportunity, and we want to base things on merit. Of course, there's a differentiation when it comes to intelligence, ability to make money, desire to make money. That is normal in any community and in any society. Every speech I give is that 20% of the people in a company do 80% of the work. That's a fact. 80% of the people in your company aren't doing a thing. I've told you that. That's a class system in and of itself. I would just like you to take one thing from this. Not that Jackie Robinson is back on the Department of Defense website. Not that John Elliott is a total tool who changed his statement in 82 minutes. Not the fact that President Trump may do things that you love, hate, or indifferent to. I would like you to take from this, if you are willing to, that erasing history is the single most dangerous thing, way worse than climate change, way worse than your view on economics, interest rates, way worse than any war anywhere in the world, way worse than having a nuclear arsenal. Mutually assured self-destruction doesn't come from war. It comes from erasing history, which means by definition, you can't learn from it. And if you can't learn from your history, we're finished. Turns out that today's episode is brought to you by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Let's talk about something in Cleveland, because anytime you can segue from Jackie Robinson to Cleveland, you know you're doing it right. I have gotten great pleasure in talking to you about the Haslam family who owns the Cleveland Browns, their absolutely ridiculous contract with Deshaun Watson, the fight they're having with the city of Cleveland over moving the team to the suburbs of Cleveland. We've explained to you the Modell Law, which is a law put in place to keep teams in the city of Cleveland, to stop them from relocating. We've told you about a lawsuit that's taking place. It turns out that Jimmy Haslam and his family have a funny sense of place in their community. And it's not uncommon that people who have an overinflated sense of self, who are megalomaniacs, that they have to be brought down a peg. Now, that peg does not come in the form of a bullet from a gun. That peg comes from actually laws. It comes from the enforcement of rules and laws. It comes from governing. So wouldn't you know that the Haslam family decided this would be the perfect time? We've got a lawsuit going on with the city of Cleveland, but here's our plan. We're going to release a fancy video. They released a several-minute video about renderings of a ballpark, $2 billion that they want to build, along with ancillary development, yada, yada, yada. The story of every owner and every franchise. Releasing renderings, for those of you who listen to Nothing Personal, you all know that what you can do with your released renderings is the same thing you can do with Charmin Ultra Strong. But for some reason, owners seem to think that however nice the giveaways are, and when you print a bunch of stuff on paper, release a bunch of stuff on social media, that somehow faking it till you make it in that regard is the same thing as I dream of a new stadium genie coming out and building you what you want. So the plan was we're going to release renderings. Then the next day, we're going to file paperwork as it relates to the lawsuit we're in against the city, where the city's suing us to keep the team downtown. And what we're going to say in those papers is that, Your Honor, there's no way a sane businessman would stay in Cleveland, in downtown Cleveland. The whole lakefront plan is a nightmare. There's no chance, toilet pants, that there will be enough revenue that is driven by that area, by that stadium, to support anything. It's going to be an unmitigated disaster. They actually were dumb enough. This is Haslam, who agreed. I have never had a lawyer do a filing that I didn't read. Is it possible Jimmy Haslam didn't read his own filing? The city seeks to hold the Browns hostage. I really think people should take care with that word, especially given the world today. I don't care whether you are Jewish, not Jewish. I just think in general we agree that hostage taking, not great. But Maybe there's no word in the thesaurus next to hostage. I'll check on that after the show. The city seeks to hold the Browns hostage to its own failure of vision, and they want that the expiration of the team's lease does not trigger the Modell Law, thereby forcing the Haslams to offer the team for sale. No more than a day later, the mayor of Cleveland, Mayor Bibb is his name, he said, I have an idea. Why don't I do my own statement? My name is Mayor Justin Bibb, and boy, do I have something to say to the Haslam family. Now, I could have picked up the phone, and I could have called the Haslams, and we could have run this like a government where we don't need to do a media war and a PR fight. But if we're going to be out in public, let me release a statement. He said the city of Cleveland offered nearly $500 million to keep the Browns in the city. He talked about the misleading statements that the Haslams made and all the work the city's done to revitalize the lakefront. All the work that they do to protect your dollars, you taxpayer, because we want to keep football on the lakefront. He wants you to make sure that you know the owner has no interest in you. Shocking. He wants to make sure you know that the owner is going to raise ticket prices, take all your money, increase your taxes, so you're not going to be able to watch the games because you're going to have to schlep outside of Cleveland, and the whole thing's an unmitigated disaster. That wasn't good enough, because Haslam is, according to Justin Bibb's statement, it's a scheme. The Haslam scheme pays for itself on the backs of fans. Isn't that nice? A politician who wants to make sure that he is running a city where his constituents, the lovely people of downtown Cleveland, understand that there's a team owner that's trying to do something that will be to the detriment of you and your pocketbook. I can't imagine what would be in it for Justin Bibb to say that as a mayor. Of course, once he releases a statement about the scheme, it forced the Browns to respond. And Jimmy Haslam responded to the Justin Bibb response with such a crock of crap that it made me laugh. He wants you to know that all the work that's been done shows definitively that an enclosed stadium in Brook Park is the most viable long-term solution and best choice for the Cleveland Browns. What he meant to say is it's the best choice for the Haslam family. And I would like him to have just said that. Don't try to pretend that having a public entity help fund your stadium doesn't benefit you. I was there. I've done it. Remember when we talk about when we release a list of things that it matters what order? When you want to thank the fans, when you want to thank your parents, there's actually an order in which you're supposed to do things that shows very tellingly what's in your head. Jimmy Haslam would have you believe through his response that the only thing in his head is the best thing for you, the fans of the Cleveland Browns. As a matter of fact, he's going to double down and say, it will burden its taxpayers for decades to come, a downtown stadium. Not talking about the reality of Stony Brook and all the money required from the public, but not people in downtown Cleveland. Brook Park, excuse me. I don't know why I said Stony Brook. That's funny. I must have New York in the brain. Thank you, Coca. Brook Park. It would be like the city of Miami going public when there was a Marlins deal to be done in Fort Lauderdale and saying, hey, listen, I can't even imagine why Fort Lauderdale would want to do a deal with the Marlins. I want them here in the city, but man, it's going to cost way too much. Therefore, it should really be either here where we can't afford to do it and it won't be done, or nowhere. It makes no fiscal sense. The Cleveland Browns said that they haven't finalized ticket prices. They're lying to you. While it is true that what the mayor said, that average ticket prices will near $700, parking rates could be north of $100, the Cleveland Browns said, we haven't actually done ticket prices at all. Horse hockey. Do you know what you have to do when you're getting money to build a new stadium? You have to do something called a pro forma. That's a future-looking financial statement, not an audited statement of what's actually happened. It's what you are projecting to happen. One of the things when you project what's going to happen is you project what your local revenue is going to be. You project your gate revenue. You project the attendance. You project the amount of money that everyone coming to games will spend. And you put that in a document and you take it to a bank and say, give me money, please. The public requires pro formas. The banks require pro formas. Even the Oakland A's had to do pro formas in order to get money, whether you're trying to get new investors, whether you're trying to sell at a valuation of $2 billion, whatever you're trying to do when you become the Aths and then the Las Vegas A's, everyone's doing pro formas. In baseball, Major League Baseball today has pro formas for every single team 1, 3, and 5 years out. Every one of them. That's how everyone knows what's happening with payrolls, because you have to project your payroll over the next 1, 3, and 5 years. It defies reason that Jimmy Haslam would have you believe that they have not finalized ticket prices. Now, he'll say I'm not lying because we can always change what's in the pro forma. That's true. But far be it from me to find a ballpark. The Yankees did it in certain sections when their pro forma had prices that were so outrageous that no one bought them. But if you are lowering your ticket prices from your pro forma to your actual sales, you're increasing them somewhere else because you can't change the ATP, the average ticket price, because it's the average ticket price that matters in order to get to your bottom line revenue, which you're using to borrow the money to build the ancillary development that's going to make you rich. So it would be nice if people would just be a little more honest. You don't need to take 82 minutes between statements. You don't need to respond to every statement that's done by a mayor. The mayor doesn't need to respond to every filing done by a private sector company. The amount of time and energy that is spent on these statements would blow your mind. And the problem is they're not impactful. They're not building fan bases. They're destroying them one statement at a time. Coca, let's take a break. It's my favorite day of the year. We're going to review my number 70 movie, and then we're going to talk about tushies. And you know, anytime you can talk about tushies, that's a good day on Nothing Personal. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It's David Sampson coming at you. Thanks for being with us. It is 8:32 Eastern Time, live on the Nothing Personal with David Sampson YouTube channel. Please watch all the clips that Coca posts during the course of the day. It's fantastic. If you're watching now, you can watch again. Just make sure you hit subscribe. If you're listening, well, thank you. We appreciate that. Please subscribe to the Nothing Personal with David Sampson podcast. Tell your friends all about us because we're here every day. 10 a.m. on the DraftKings Network. Check out the DraftKings Network. It's available pretty much everywhere you need it to be. Every day I watch a movie. Every Thursday, we review a movie from the top 100 movie list that I put together that's getting a little old that I have to redo, but I'm not redoing right now because I haven't redone it. But I love this. Stealing Home, ranked 70. I watched it on Sunday, Coca, and I'm moving it up in the next iteration. It's a movie from 1988. It's a baseball movie, but it's not really a baseball movie, but it sort of is. It stars William McNamara, Jodie Foster, John Shea, Blair Brown, Harold Ramis, rest in peace, Jonathan Silverman. Here's the story. It's about love of baseball. It's about a child becoming a man. It's about trying to figure out what you're good at, and when you lose your way, how to find your way back. It's about someone with troubles, mental health issues, a mental health impairment, trying to understand how to make things better, how to make things right. It's how you bridge a gap when you have spent years not in touch with someone you should have been in touch with. It's about the concept of stealing home and what it means. Because stealing home isn't about getting from third base to home plate and scoring the winning run with a headfirst slide. Stealing home is about the emotional attachment that you have to your childhood, for better or for worse. Stealing home is about how you segue from childhood to adulthood and how you come to grips with your reality. The music in Stealing Home, the feel of Stealing Home, it didn't change for me. And I've watched it, I bet you, 100 times in my life. It's free on the Roku channel. I would encourage you to watch the movie and to give it a chance. And I triple dare you not to get all up in your feelings. It's called Stealing Home. All right, Coca, next Thursday, what do we got? Hit the button. Yes. God, I do love my list. This is a heavy one. I've watched this a couple times. It's called The Killing Fields. Number 43. It's an Oscar award. It's an Academy Award winning film about the killing fields in Cambodia. I strongly will encourage you to watch that. If you can watch it by next week, that'd be great. An unbelievable acting job by Dr. Hang S. Noor. He won the Academy Award for that off the top of my head in the supporting actor category. Sam Waterston plays a journalist who is trying to make a difference in Cambodia. And just when you thought that issues in the U.S. may be too much to overcome, why don't you go back and learn? Wait a minute. You need history. You need books. You need to understand what went on, because trust me, killing fields, that's something you probably don't want to see again. I totally understand why the Green Bay Packers have no interest at all in seeing the tush push again. I must say that I have a problem with the tush push personally, because I don't think that there should be a play on the offensive side in the National Football League where the advantage, forget 50-50, forget 60-40, there shouldn't be anything that exists in a way that it's going to be 90-10 or 95-5 in terms of success rate. I just don't understand. Excuse me one second. I just don't understand how it is that the NFL has even allowed a play like this where the defense can't even play defense. And there has been a push by the Green Bay Packers to eliminate the tush push several years in a row, and it's all fallen on deaf ears. Because the other side of the argument is, hey, find a way to better defend it. So the Commanders tried it during a playoff game and almost were awarded a touchdown against them because they kept jumping off sides. And what the Packers are promoting and hoping for in terms of a rule change is not eliminating something called the tush push. It's simply saying that you can't have someone in the backfield trying to touch and be the first person to touch someone standing over the ball. I think that's a good rule, actually. It would force there to be some sort of movement. So, for example, when Jalen Hurts takes the handoff, instead of going straight and being pushed forward, he can actually pull to the left. You can have the pulling guard even when you're on the 1 yard line, or even just the tackle, clear the way, and you can have the man in motion run ahead of him. There's plenty of room for that, even if it's only at the 6 yard line, because you've got the 10-yard end zone. I think this is the year it actually happens. I think there's enough owners who have said to themselves, why don't we go ahead and try to change the status quo of a play that is now becoming a mockery? The league has pushed forward with this potential rule change that was put in by the Packers as now being one that will be considered at owners' meetings in Palm Beach at the end of the month. I actually think that it is an official wait to see. My official wait to see when I tell you something's going to happen. If it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, fine. We'll revisit it. My official wait to see is that the tush push proposal, not named as such, that the NFL is debating, the proposal put forward by the Detroit Lions, it's actually going to happen. 4869. The tush push proposal put forward by the Packers is going to happen. Wait to see. The Detroit Lions have some rules they want to see instituted, and I don't think those are going to happen. I wanted to go through them because it's an interesting one. I'm always interested in how automatic first downs are given. I'm always interested in how overtime works. There is a rule proposal the NFL is considering where both teams should have possession in overtime. You'll recognize that rule as being a rule that exists in the postseason and in the Super Bowl. But in the regular season, an overtime game ends if the team who starts with the ball scores a touchdown. I think it can also end on a safety, Coca, on the first possession, as a matter of fact. That's a rule that I suspect is going to stay in place because during the course of the regular season, they would prefer the games to end as quickly as possible to get into the next window. And they do not need to go the college route, which is getting both teams a possession. The reason they allowed it in the postseason is they didn't want a Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen situation. They wanted both teams to have a right when it's a one and done, win or go home situation. So I think that rule proposal that is being contemplated is not going to pass. What about the one where you have an automatic first down when there's certain penalties called? They're trying to tell you that, like on a defensive holding or illegal contact downfield, there'll be a 5-yard penalty without an automatic first down. And it got me thinking, what is more impactful? If I had to list my top 2 most impactful penalties, just by a show of hands, what is the most impactful penalty of all the penalties in the National Football League? Coca, do you want to raise your hand? Because I'm looking out at a dry cleaning bag. The number 1 most impactful is the spot foul for defensive pass interference. You can throw up a wing and a prayer and somehow end up with first and goal on the 1. Spot fouls, most impactful. Number 2, in my humble opinion, is the automatic first down. You've got to take great care with granting automatic first downs because our league, I don't know why I said our, the National Football League used to be a 3-and-punt league. Now the National Football League is a 4-down league. There are fewer punts than ever, but it is good that there's some free agent punters getting jobs. The number of punts per game, this is totally anecdotal, I'm going to say is trending down. The number of fourth-yard attempts, I'm going to say is trending up, which means that the defense, which used to only have to stop 3 offensive plays before a team gets 10 yards, is now forced to stop 4 offensive plays without giving up 10 yards. Any penalty that resets the downs, that gets you an automatic first down, it's worse than 10 yards. It's worse than a 15-yard illegal personal foul. I would argue that the automatic first down rules should be tightened. Getting rid of automatic first downs is a perfect plan. I'm in. The problem is I don't think the owners are going to pass it because they're too happy when it gets called. So I guess, Coca, my only way to see is on the tush push. That'll be the only victory. Nothing personal pick of the day, presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. What a game we have tonight. The Milwaukee Bucks, my second favorite team, are going to Los Angeles to play the Lakers. No LeBron James. It's a back-to-back for the Lakers, who you may find out in another minute may have crushed the Denver Nuggets last night, who were playing without Jokic and Murray. But what you may not know is the Milwaukee Bucks got absolutely rolled over in a recent game against the Warriors. They've been playing very poorly, not at all related to Coach Doc Rivers and his existence as their coach. But the reality is that the Bucks have a problem. And so what do you do when you have a problem? You have a meeting. That'll solve it. Doc Rivers called a meeting with Giannis and Lillard. Just a small little get-together. Of course, managers and coaches have meetings with players all the time. The best way to do it is on the field before BP, during the walkthrough that happens in the morning before an NBA game, during a shoot-around. There's no reason to have an official meeting where the media gets wind of it or players get wind of it. It becomes public, and all of a sudden it's like, are we in panic mode? There's a far better way to do it. But man, those Milwaukee Bucks are trying to figure it out before it's too late, and I think it is. That said, only giving 4 points after a team meeting that only has Giannis and Lillard in it against the Lakers team without LeBron playing the second night of a back-to-back where Luka, while he's in better shape, struggles on back-to-backs, I say giving 4 is the right play. Nothing personal pick of the day presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Today's pick is the Milwaukee Bucks -4 over the Los Angeles Lakers. We are 23-30. We lost yesterday's pick, Coca. I don't understand what happened. The Nuggets were getting 1.5 points. By the time we did the show, the Nuggets were giving 1.5 points. And it turns out that when the game started, the Lakers were giving 5.5 points because somehow in the NBA, it's a random Tuesday when Jokic wakes up and says, load management. Murray, don't think so. What kind of product is this? Makes me crazy. Let's talk about the Mavericks. Did you see Anthony Davis is trying to get himself back ready to play? Mavericks trying to find 8 healthy players on an ordinary day. Mavericks had that heartbreaking loss to the Pacers the other night, which could have been last night. I can't remember what highlight I was watching. The Mavericks have something very important going on, and shockingly, it's not about the fallout from the Luka trade. The Mavericks are trying to deal with their arena situation, something that has been an issue for them for years, and people assumed was a major issue for Mark Cuban and his desire to sell to Miriam Adelson or Patrick Dumont. You see, people suspect that the Mavericks are trying not to get an arena done in Dallas because they want to move to Vegas. The Adelson family said, there's no way we're moving the Mavericks to Vegas because we're never going to be allowed to. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring Vegas to Dallas. What a perfect idea. If you can't go to the mountain, make the mountain come to you. You think Steve Cohen is the only one who wants casino cash? The Adelsons know exactly what it means to have your money. So what they're trying to do is get approval for a casino. Of course, it would be outside of Dallas. It would be in Irving. Who remembers what Irving, Texas is? Anyone? Nobody? Irving, Dallas Cowboys, Brent Musburger, you are looking live at Irving, Texas. Why does this interest me? Because the Irving Zoning Commission approved a zoning change yesterday in a 5-4 vote that turned 1,000 acres near the former place where the Dallas Cowboys played. It's now a mixed-use development area. You may not realize, but zoning votes are some of the most important votes that happen. Some of the greatest lobbying that needs to be done where the sun don't shine is about zoning. Because guess what you can't do without zoning approval? You can't build stuff. Things have to be zoned for certain types of development, and the development that's required on those 1,000 acres in order to do what Miriam Adelson wants to do by building a casino has to be changed, and now it is. Now, it is true that the zoning commission is only step one. They've got to get the Irving City Council. There's going to be a whole lot of other approvals that need to happen, but this is step one to what they want to do. You see, they already own the Las Vegas Sands Corporation. That's the corporation and the person. They already bought the Mavericks. They've got the team. Now they want to build a resort. They want to build an arena. They want to build a theater. But what do they want above all of that is they want a casino. And the irony is today, Texas doesn't allow casinos. Texas doesn't allow what it is they want. Does that sound familiar? Is that not exactly what Stephen Cohen is up against in Queens with building a casino outside of Citi Field? You understand that all of these are related. What owners are doing right now is they are figuring out what the best way to the most profit is in development, in ancillary development. You think that the Cleveland Browns are the only team leaving a downtown area for more land, more development? Did you see what the Braves did? Did you see what every team's trying to do? The Dallas Mavericks are just the latest team. The only interesting part about it is it involves a development that's not about affordable housing, even though that'll be mentioned, not about hotels, that'll be mentioned, office space, that'll be mentioned, apartments, that'll be mentioned, green space, that has to be mentioned. Bicycle lanes. That's always a good one. People like voting for bicycle lanes. That's good. But what's hidden right out in the open is that the best way to generate revenue, if you are the Adelson family, because you know it, it's to get into the casino business because the house doesn't lose. And so when the Adelsons are trying to get this done in Irving, I wouldn't bet against them. Because at the end of the day, like the lottery and so many other things, when the public looks at the positives and negatives of a casino, they generally say, let's go. It's just business. We'll be back tomorrow. This is nothing personal.